What's in Python as a network engineer? Can we assign IP address with Python? Yes. Can we do packet capturing with Python? Yes. Can we ping a remote server with Python? Yes. Do I need to learn the Python as a programmer? The answer is no. So hello everyone, this is Ajit here from Into Network. Welcome to the channel one more time. And today we are launching a new series of Python. It's the first video of Python. So where you'll be learning about the most promising questions which is normally asked during interview as a Python for a network engineer. This video I have designed the question in such a way that you will be learning from the beginning point of view, like what exactly the Python is, how it works, its libraries, or what all functions are needed, and slowly and gradually later on with the few more videos you'll be learning about the scripting part also. Here also we have covered some scripting questions that is normally asked during interview. Very soon you'll be seeing more videos on the scripting that will help you to understand this programming language as a network engineer and how it can be helpful for you. So if you guys like this video, do share with your friends also, and let's help each other to clear the interview and explore the world of network industry. So let's start this video now and be in the video till the end to know the interesting part of the Python. Let's start now. How can Python be useful for network engineers? Below are a few examples of Python which are helpful for network engineers. Number one is automation. Now, with the help of automation, as you guys know, that what we can actually do, there are a lot of things that as a network engineer we can use to automate. For example, pulling up the information, okay, and then also retrieving the information or pushing the information to the device and monitoring the device. Okay, so all these things can be automated with the help of few libraries, the tools. In terms of Python, as we say, there are few libraries as you can see here. So Python excels at automating repetitive tasks, making it ideal for network engineers, utilizing Python libraries like Paramiko or NetMiko. So we can use these two libraries of Python to automate the network devices. For example, device configuration, network monitoring, and troubleshooting process that reduce manual effort and enhance overall efficiency. Second part that we can do is we can use network device interaction. Now, when we say interaction with the network device, again, that means we have to use some of the libraries of Python that can help you to interact with the device. Again, when we say interact, that means we have to communicate with the device. Okay, now this communication can be like doing the telnet with the device, accessing that device by telnet or SSH, or making pulling up the configuration of that device or pushing the configuration to the device. Okay, so above we have already discussed about Paramiko and NetMiko, but for example, if you have to access the device, either you have to do the telnet or SSH, right? So there's another library, as you can see here, which says telnet lib. Okay, so telnet lib is another library that can help you to telnet the device. Okay, the remote devices that we have, we can, with the help of this library, we can telnet it. Okay, now these questions are normally asked at the initial level to understand whether you have that capability as a network engineer of Python or not. Right? So I'm sure it is much clear to you, as it says Python provides modules such as telnet lib, paramiko, and netmiko, which allow network engineers to establish connections with network devices like routers, switches, and firewalls, enabling programmatic interaction. This allows for tasks like retrieving device information, executing commands, and extracting data from network devices. Third is network monitoring and analysis. Again, the same thing, we can use Paramiko and NetMiko for monitoring also. And there are other few more library of Python that can help you to for the monitoring of a specific section. Okay, let's take. So it says Python enables network engineers to develop custom monitoring tools to collect and analyze network data. Libraries like Scapy and PyShark, which is normally used as for the packet capturing, facilitate capturing and dissecting network packets, monitoring network performance, and detecting anomalies or security threats. Python data processing capabilities simplify report generation and data visualization using libraries like pandas, you know, matplotlib or plotly. So these are the few another important libraries. So as a network engineer, what is more important for you to understand, you should be aware about these libraries so that you can use them as and when needed. Fourth is APIs and web services. So many network devices and platform provide APIs or web services for programmatic interaction. Python's request library enables network engineers to send HTTP requests, retrieve data, and automate interaction with these APIs. Okay, normally in the cloud that we do, or there are certain load balancer which are the virtual, so we can use the API and web services of those devices. Testing and validation. Python frameworks like PyTest or unit test assist network engineers in creating test suites for validating network infrastructure. These frameworks helps in writing test cases, executing them against network devices, and verifying expected behavior. This ensures network stability and reliability during changes or upgrades. So in case if you're doing any upgrade of device and you want to know the pre and post upgrade, where network is after, before upgrade and after upgrade, is everything fine or not, so you can use these libraries, and that can help you to achieve your task. Okay, now once you take these libraries, you have to write a command. Okay, you have to write a set of commands to perform your functions. Now each command that you want to perform, accordingly you have to use the libraries. Okay, I hope you guys is clear from you. Now let's move to the next question. Scripting and custom tools. Network engineers can write script to perform various tasks that include generating network configuration, extracting data from log file, and implementing custom network protocols. 7 is use Python to collect MAC address. Normally, whenever as a network engineer, we come across in a situation where we have to add devices to the network. Okay, so what we can use with the Python, that we can ping the device remotely, and that ping will generate the MAC address. So if you're looking for the central repository of the MAC address of all the network devices that you have in your environment, you can use the Python to collect the MAC address. Okay, so it says whenever a new device is added to a network, Python script can be triggered to ping that device. Okay, which I was telling. So when the device is pinged, the MAC address can be extracted and written to a CSV file. That way, all physical hardware with a NIC can be tallied in a central location, which can be helpful, for the future reference, or if you are a part of designing team, that can definitely going to help you. So let's move to the next question. So what is Python? Python is a high-level in interpreted, interactive, and object-oriented scripting language. So Python is designed to be highly readable. It uses English keywords frequently, whereas other languages use punctuation. It has few syntactical constructions than other languages. Okay, so a very important questions which is normally asked, on a deep level, is Python is a high-level language? Yes. Is it an object-oriented language? Yes. Is it a scripting language? Yes. Okay, so that is why Python, see that there's certain category of language that we have in IT industry. In terms of software, if we say they are high level language, then there is a low level language. When we say high level language, we have example called like C++. Okay, you must have come across a word called Java. So these are the very high level languages. When we say low level language, we means a machine language, assembly language. Those are the low level language. So Python fall in the category of high level language. And when we say object oriented language, so that means, there are certain category of within the language. Like once we have the categorization of high level and low level, then we categorize those languages whether they are object oriented language or they are non-object oriented language. For example, C is not a object oriented language, but C++ is a object oriented language. Okay, now when it say object oriented, that means every object can be oriented. That means every object in that language can be used for further enhancement. Okay, so you guys not don't need to go into deep to that level, because that is not required as a network engineer. You just need to understand the basic level, what Python is all about. Okay, so what is the purpose of Python path environment variable? Python path, it is similar to path. So this variable tells the Python interpreter where to locate the module files imported into a program. It should include the Python source library directory and directories containing Python source code. So what it says exactly, that any program that you write in Python, at the first line that you mention is about the which directory or which library that you want to include, and according to that library you have to write the command to execute that command. Okay, so you have to define the path. For example, if there is if you have to telnet the device, then you have to, if you are writing a script to telnet the device, so you have to include a library which says telnet lib, which I explained in the last slide. Okay, so Python path, it says the path where you have store your library. Okay, next is Python a case sensitive programming language? That is very important. Yes, Python is a case sensitive programming language. What is a Python module and how do you implement it? Python module is a file containing Python definitions and statements. You can use the import statement to include the functionality of a module in your code. How do you handle exceptions in Python? In Python, you can use the try block to handle exceptions. You put the code that might cause an exception in the try block and then specify what to do if an exception is raised in the except block. Okay, now what happened in Python? Like for example, if you have to uh, try something, like example, if there's a keyword called try. Okay, so under try, if I need to mention what needs to be a try, certain code, run this code. And if while running this code, if you come across any exception and you want to know, explain what needs to be run in case if there's an error on this code, so you type under except block. Okay, now once you know if there is an error, what needs to be run in accept block. Okay, now if that code will be run under accept block. Else, if there's no error, then what needs to be run under else block. And finally, there's another keyword which says finally, which you need to enter what needs to be run finally. Okay, so there's certain set of codes that you want to run, certain set of instructions that you want to run. For example, if you want to print any statement or print any line or execute any command, and if you want to try and if you know that there might be an error, then these code will be run. If there's no error, then these code will be run, and if everything goes fine, then these code will be run. Okay, so that way you can handle exceptions in a different way. Okay, I hope this clear to you. So let's move to the next question. Let me rub this first. Okay, it's rubbed now. So now let's move to the next question. Next question says, how do you connect to a remote network device using Python? So as we have already discussed, we can use paramiko and telnet lib as two library. So with the telnet lib, you can telnet the device, and with paramiko, you can SSH the device. As it says, you can use the paramiko library in Python to connect to remote network using the SSH and use telnet lib to connect via telnet. Next question is, what are the supported data types in Python? Python has 5 standard data types, which is numbers, strings, list, tuples, and dictionary. Now, when we say data types, that needs to be understood here. See, what happened that, for example, when you write a number, 1, 2, 3, or sorry for bad handwriting, 4, 5, these are numbers. Okay, then if I write my name here, these are, if I say A, B, it's character. But if I specify my name, it's AJIT, it's a string. Okay, now there might be a number called 1.0, 2.5. Okay, so now all these values, all these variables, this needs to be identified in the Python by different data types. So when we say there's numbers only like 1, 2, or 3, then it falls under numbers. Within numbers we have a integer number, float number. Then if we have a string, a sentence called, then it's a string. Then we have list. List, when we say when there's a comma, like a comma b comma, set of instructions that you want to perform. Okay, then there's a tuple. It's similar to list, but there's a difference. I will explain you later. So basically what we're trying to here understand here, that Python has a 5 standard data types, which can be numbers, string, list, tuples, and dictionary. Now within numbers we have integer and float, within string, character, that will come across further. The reason what we need to understand from the network point of view, that all these values, whenever we have to configure any values, if you create a custom monitoring tool, okay, you have to give the value. We have to, when we configure anything, we have, when we give the threshold, hold timer, those things, again we have to give the values. Now with these values needs to be understood, by the Python also. We know it's 1 2 3 is a number, we know 1.5 is a float number or a decimal number, but to make Python understand this, there's a separate data types. Okay, so let's move now.
समझ रहे हो समझ रहे हो आप समझ रहे
What are tuples in Python? A tuple is a immutable, that means can't edit object, which means it cannot be changed, and we use it to represent fixed collection of items. A tuple is sequenced data type that is similar to the list. A tuple consists of a number of values separated by commas. Unlike list, however, tuples are enclosed within parentheses. So you understand the difference between tuples and list, where tuple and list both are, if we have number of information, 1 2 3, all these are separated by comma. Okay, and but the difference between tuple and list is that tuple is can't editable and list is editable. And second difference between tuple and list is that tuple start with parentheses. What is the difference between tuple and list in Python? It's again same. The main difference between list and tuples are lists are enclosed in brackets and their elements and size can be changed, while tuples are enclosed in parentheses and cannot be updated. Tuples can be thought of as a read-only list. Tuples are immutable, editable, as opposed to the list, which are mutable. How will you convert a string to an integer in Python? So if you have to convert, the source is string and destination is integer, what you can do, type integer function, use the integer function, under x type your string value. It will convert that string into an integer value. How will you convert a string to a float? Same, float function, float x. How will you convert a string to a tuple in Python? Tuple function convert s to a tuple, where s stand for the your string. How will you convert a string to a list in Python? List function, and s is your string, converts s to a list. How will you convert an integer to a character in Python? Again, use a chr, that is character function, and x is your value. How will you convert a single character to its integer value in Python? You use the ord function. Now the reason we need to understand, these are the different functions which are available in the Python, and according to your requirement you have to use that functions. Now as a network engineer, all these functions are needed by you somewhere while you use use Python the scripting. When you understand the coding at this level, you just need to understand all these functions. Now later on I will make you understand where to call this function, how to use it. What is the purpose of is operator? Operator is evaluates to true if the variables on either side of the operator point to the same object, and false otherwise. X is Y. Here is results in 1 if id x equals to id y. So basically is operator is used to make the comparison. Okay, if that means x is equal to y or not. So if that is the way that you want to understand, then yes, it says like this. Okay, so next question is, what is the purpose break statement in Python? Okay, so guys, let's understand very clearly that slowly and gradually you'll be uh, getting the questions where you'll be seeing the exact command that you need to execute. So initially we just need to understand what all the command you should be knowing from the network point of view. Okay, and how different codes are there, different commands are there that you have to use with the help of libraries which Python already support. Okay, so you don't need to have a thorough knowledge of this programming language. You just need to understand what, as a network engineer, what things I need to know from the this Python. Okay, and from where we have to pull those information. So this video help you to look into those specific libraries. With the help of that, you can uh, create the program, create your script, and you can achieve your target uh, task. Okay, so all these questions is just going to give you a brief explanation what you should be knowing, and then now onwards you'll be learning few of the important tasks which we perform and which we should be aware about, so that we can say that I yes, you already know the Python as a network engineer and where you can use them. Okay, so this question says what is the purpose break statement in Python. So the break statement is frequently used to terminate the processing of a particular case within a switch statement. Okay, now what happened that you need to understand, uh, Python is a programming language as a high level language. Okay, so what happened, like for example, if I say uh, under switch statement, if I say you perform certain functions, like you want to run a loop. Okay, and you want to keep on doing this till it achieve 20 steps, and after 20 steps it should be break. Okay, so see, this switch is a keyword, loop is what you want to achieve, and if after that it should be break. So after break, that means after 20 repetitive tasks it should be break. So this is what break statement says in the Python. Okay, now as a network engineer, where I have to use that unit, I will explain you in this diagram. Okay, or in this questions letter part. So let's move to the next question, which says what is the purpose continue statement in Python. So the continue keyword is used to end the current iteration for a for loop or a while loop and continue to the next iteration. Now here it says, as I have mentioned in the above, break statement, where break actually break your loop and continue actually help you to continue with your loop. Okay, so you use in the for statement or in the while statement, you use the break or the continue statement to whether what step you want to do. For example, in the above, as I said, after 20 steps it should break, but in the while or in the continue statement you can say after 20, if it reached to 20 it should continue to till 30. Okay, now where to use this as a network, that thing which we learned later part of this video. So what is the purpose of using break and continue in Python? It's the same thing which I've explained. The break and continue statement in Python are used to skip part of the current loop or break out the loop completely. The break statement can be used if you need to break out for a of a for while loop and move on to the next section of a code. Okay, so I'm thinking this is very much clear to you. So now let's move to the interesting part, where actually we use the script and the command under library and achieve this required task, which actually we should be knowing as a network engineer. So let's move to that part now. What is Python module and how do you implement it? Python module is a file containing Python definitions and statements. You can use the import statement to include the functionality of a module in your code. So till now, whatever about library and the functions that we have learned in this video, you have to use the keyword import before you call any of your library. Okay, so for example, like if I have to use call telnet lib for telnet function or paramico or for ping function, we have to use the keyword import and then that function name or the library file name. It's your first statement that you have to use in your script. Okay, now how can you ping an IP address from a Python script? That's a basic question. Another, like in case if you have to write a script where you have to ping a remote device. Now this could be a remote server, or this could be your monitoring device, or this could be any of your troubleshoot steps that if you want to do. And with the help of Python, if you want to ping any device, what exactly you have to do? First you have to use the keyword import, and then you have to call that specific function. Once you call that specific module, every function of that module will only work if you call that module first. Okay, so it says Python provides the ping3 module that can be used to ping an IP address from a script. A simple script to accomplish this is import ping3. Okay, so any function that if you want to use of ping module or ping library will only work if you first import this module in your script. That will be the first line. Then what we have to ping, that we have to define. So either you call it as an interface, or you call it, you simply give the IP address. So let's get an IP address to any example. So if I say IP address is a variable which I use, and xxx is your IP address that I want to ping. This could be any IP address of your network that you can use. Now once, what I have to do, I have to ping this IP address, correct? So what I have to use in this statement is, I have to capture the response, within the ping 3 module. I want to use a ping function, and this ping function will do what? It will ping this IP address which I have mentioned here. So correct. So if you need to understand again, let me recap it. Within the ping 3 module, I have using this ping function to ping the IP address which I have mentioned here, and this value will be stored in the response time variable. Okay, so for example, if I want to ping uh, 8.8.8.8, so this is the IP address which I want to ping, which I have to define under IP address. That's a variable, and when it will ping it, so ping 3 module, I want to use this ping 3 module, and what I have to do, want to use a ping function of this ping 3 module to ping what? This IP address. And once it will ping, I want to store its value in a variable called response time. Okay, now what will happen normally? Either it will ping or it will not ping. Okay, so we have to make, because somewhere you have to store the result, correct? So what you have to do, if response time, which is this variable, is not none, that means it's getting the value, then what you have to do, you have to print. What print? That ping received for IP address, response time this, millisecond is this, that you are getting the ping. If response time is none, or else print no response received for this IP address.
मजा आया और मैं ये जो मजा है हिंदुस्तान के हर व्यक्ति को देना
That's a very simple and basic script that you can use to ping a remote device using the Python. So guys, I'm sure it was very clear to you, and let's see you in the next video with more detail on the scripting part, which I will be uploading soon. I hope you must have enjoyed this video. And in case if you have any query, you can mention in the comment section. I will answer to your query. And if you're new to my channel, do subscribe my channel and do like this video if you like the content. Thank you so much. Bye bye guys.